Being a fan of Batman the Animated Series, I was first cautious of Batman Beyond. Then I became curious when I saw the footage. Then interested when I saw a couple of episodes on TV, but not enough to make me want to watch the show seriously from beginning to end. The episodes I saw were good, but I just never fully got into it. Fast forward to Christmas 2012, when I gave the complete series DVD to my roommate as a gift. I knew he liked the series, and that's why I gave it to him, and after seeing a few more episodes, I began to get more interested and only recently borrowed it from him to watch, and now here's my review to that series that, in my opinion, is an equal ground with Batman the Animated Series. Let's start with the overall story of the series. In the beginning, Bruce Wayne is not as young as he used to be. He is around 50 years old and still crime fighting. While trying to rescue a kidnapped heiress, he suffers a mild heart attack and is almost beaten to death. To stop this, Batman breaks his rule and threatens a goon with a gun. The goon runs away frightened. The girl is saved and Batman walks away, dropping the gun after seeing what he had to do. Batcave is more of a museum now, housing many trinkets and costumes from his years of crime fighting. He hangs the new Batman suit up and turns off all the lights saying never again, and thus retires. 20 years later, 17-year-old Terry McGinnis lives in a futuristic Gotham City, where crime is at an all-time high that has not been seen since before Bruce Wayne became Batman. Terry is a troubled kid from a broken home. His parents have separated and is angry with his life. One night, Terry leaves his dad's house after an argument and comes across Wayne Manor and helps the now 70-year-old Bruce Wayne into his home to get some pills. Terry discovers the Batcave. Bruce sends Terry out in a furious rage. Terry returns home to find his father dead, supposedly by the gang called the Jokers. To solve his father's murder, Terry steals the new Batman suit and goes out to avenge his death. Bruce reluctantly helps Terry. After the murder is solved, Bruce hires Terry to be his personal assistant and to also secretly be Batman and save the city from crime once again. The stories for the individual episodes are themselves great and pay off really well for the continuing storylines with characters and the overall storylines for the season. However, the relationship between Terry and his girlfriend Dana is never really brought to a close or develops any further than what you see in the first season, which is, I'm too busy to be with you tonight, I'll see you another time. One of the few downfalls with the series, but I'll get to that later. The design of Gotham City is very well done and plays homage to great science fictions from the past media, from Blade Runner to the 1920s, 30s silent German expressionist film Metropolis, etc., etc. The costumes were great, seeing how the style of fashion might change in the future, and seemed very logical. One thing that was the also neat thing they did for the series is they created their own slang that kids use, like the word shway, S-C-H-W-A-Y, which means cool. The animation style was very much like the early years of the Batman animated series, and I liked that a lot. It gave the look of the series a gritty, uncleaned look that fit the look of the series and of Gotham itself. The best thing about the series, much like Batman the Animated Series, is character. All the best episodes, in my opinion, had character drama development. Like when Terry meets the Royal Flush Gang and falls in love with one of their members who is called Ten, and her real name is Melanie. But he doesn't go any further with it because he has his own girlfriend, and that she and him cannot work with her as a criminal. Their relationship is a great struggle, and you can clearly see that both love each other, but just can't make it work. Terry asks Bruce if he had something like that, and Bruce says, "Let me tell you about a woman named Selina Kyle." Which brings me to the Terry-Bruce relationship. This mentor-father-son relationship was the center of the entire series, or the heart of the series. My favorite moments in the series was when they had an experience they could share, like I mentioned above with the Melanie character and Bruce being reminded of Selina Kyle. And when Bruce tells stories from his past, Terry asks questions to get details, and then later Terry does something that he knows Batman would only do in this sort of situation, and Bruce then asks him questions about it to get all the details, creating a great bonding moment. There's a two-parter episode called The Call, where Terry joins the Justice League to solve the mystery of members being incapacitated. And it's at the end of the second part that he decides he doesn't really want to be part of it, and realizes that he has more in common with Bruce Wayne than he thinks. And at the close of the episode, Superman says, "More than you know." It is moments like this that made me love the show and these characters. There was one episode where Bruce receives a visit from a still young Talia al Ghul and offers him a chance to be young again with the aid of the Lazarus Pit. This ends up being a trick to have Ra's possess him, but fails, and, spoiler alert, Talia dies with Ra's. In this episode, we see Bruce being brushed with his past, and that he really did love Talia, and then seeing Bruce come to terms with his age and his need of help from Terry, and Terry being Batman. There is one episode where Victor Fries returns and is cured, but reverts and goes on a rampage. But then before a building collapses, he stays behind to be crushed and cease to live. This was sad, and much like other Mr. Freeze episodes from the past, made you pity him. When Freeze was cured, he tried to right the wrongs he did and become a model citizen, and you hoped he actually would have a happy life. But no, his body had to revert, and when Freeze decided to die, you couldn't help but feel for him and wished he didn't die in hopes that there might be something for him in the future. But alas, even Freeze will tell you there is no reason for him to be alive anymore. Of all the great things, there were some faults. For instance, a majority of the episodes, they seem to be creating new villains that would either last one episode or the entire series. And I can understand creating new villains because they're starting fresh. They needed new material. But when they were just creating new villains, it kind of got annoying because they were doing it too often. There was rarely any recurring villains to do battle with Batman. They had some good ones, but most of them either died or just stayed in prison instead of coming back to seek vengeance of Batman. But once they started to bring villains back over and over again, it was better because then we could see more of how great these villains are and what they could do and how much of a struggle it is for Batman to take them down. And the recurring ones they had were very well thought out for this series. There is no futuristic Catwoman or Joker. In fact, 99% of Batman's old villains are dead, including the Joker. All there is of the Joker is a gang inspired by the Joker, and they call themselves Jokers, spelled with a Z at the end. The new ones are Shriek, who uses sound waves to fight, Blight, which is this radioactive skeleton that shines and has explosive powers, Ink, who is this woman who genetically altered herself to move like liquid ink and can shapeshift. And then there's Spellbinder, who can hypnotize you into thinking the visions he shows you is real. And there are some other good ones as well. Another fault is the one I mentioned earlier, is the relationship between Terry and his girlfriend Dana that doesn't develop much at all, and you just wonder why is she still with him if he just keeps breaking off dates and standing her up. She must be really devoted, yes, but there is a line, and I'm sure she can't take any more of it. And the last real fault with the series is that it did not have a proper end to the series. The final episode is a story Terry tells a friend about when he had to reveal his identity to a kid so he can save him and the repercussions that came from that. It was a nice episode, yes, but not a strong enough episode to end on. It wasn't until the episode from the Justice League animated series entitled Epilogue that we got an ending to the series, and that episode was great. A controversial one, yes, because, spoiler alert again, we find out that Bruce is Terry's biological father. But the episode is a good one, and one that should have ended this series rather than be a random episode in another, for it brought Batman Beyond full circle and showed why, of all the superheroes, that Batman is needed the most in the world. I have to admit I was pretty impressed with this series and have to give it 5 stars out of 5. Before I go, I couldn't find any place to put this, but I just wanted to point this one moment in an episode called Out of the Past, where it opens up and we hear Kevin Conroy say, "I am vengeance, I am the night, I am," and we see Batman is on a theater stage, so we can assume it's a dramatic interpretation of Batman, but then Kevin Conroy says Batman as a song, and we see this stage light up, and it's a musical comedy interpretation of Batman. They got a majority of the original voice actors to reprise their voices of the characters for this scene and sing. I'm not mad about this. I'm not. I was just shocked to see it in the series, and upon seeing the scene a second time, I was still shocked, but I was able to laugh at this. Again, I'm not mad. I'm not. It was just a shocker. But it's something to laugh at. The reason this scene was in the episode was because the crew heard about the live-action musical stage play being made and wanted to make a tribute. And it was good. And funny, I have to admit. But like I said, overall the show is great and has equal ground with Batman the Animated Series. And one I should say, one I do recommend to all Batman fans out there.